Hello!
Hi everyone.
Welcome back to GameWalks. It is May 13th.
Back to GameWalks.
Yeah, back to Walk with us. I'm Matt, this is Jim.
Hello.
So, I was wondering, when was the last time you played Diablo 3?
Wow, it was a while ago. I think I binged about like 140 hours on it or something from when it came out, which was right about a year ago, right? Late May. So I probably finished in like late June or something.
And you made it to Nightmare? Or?
Whatever the last, I got to Act 2, what is it?
Inferno?
Inferno, where everyone got stuck.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't grind anymore. In all those 140 hours, I had gotten one really shitty legendary drop. It was like a level 20 legendary item that was worthless. And on that 140th hour, I got my first set item after grinding. And it was something I couldn't even use, I couldn't even utilize. And I'm like, the return on my time investments is no longer worth it.
And it did take you over 100 hours to come to that realization. So you must have been having fun along the way.
I had fun. I liked the game a lot. And I have no regrets about the time I put in or any of that. I had a lot of fun with it. But yeah, I kind of put it down and I haven't really had the compulsion to go back yet.
Well, you made it further than I did, although I did have a little bit more breadth. I played a whole bunch of different character classes and on Hell mode
I tried to live. I got a hardcore character through a playthrough.
But I didn't get anywhere near.
We did our
Inferno
binge
mode.
session. We did our binge LAN party.
Beat the game in the first day it was out.
In one sitting.
Well, I bring it up because there's been a lot of patches released since you stopped playing. They introduced things like the Paragon system. They made, I don't know, I'm sure they made some changes to the way the loot drops work. Looking for monster stuff and monster power stuff. And they also made some changes to the Real Money Auction House. And in fact, just this weekend when patch 108 dropped, they broke the Real Money Auction House.
Oh, man.
It was a really interesting analysis, I think. They raised the number of gold you could sell from 1 million lots to 10 million lots.
Okay.
And there's something in programming terms that I'm not familiar with where an operation that you can call for in code has a certain size of a variable. And that size for that variable is a little bit under, I guess, 4 billion or whatever it is.
Okay.
And so there was this error where you could post $4 billion in gold onto the auction house, 4 billion gold on the Real Money Auction House. And the variable would screw up because you can't store that many zeros, I guess, in a variable or something. And then it would instantly refund a whole bunch of your money.
Oh,
and then you would, a whole bunch of your gold. And then you would cancel the auction, and then it would refund what it thought was the whole, 4 billion gold pieces. So basically, you'd post 4 billion gold. Your balance would only drop to, maybe 1.5 billion gold, even though you had posted all 4 of it. Then you cancel the auction, now you're up to 5.5 billion gold.
Oh my gosh.
And so you could just repeat this again and again and again.
I read the headline article of this, but I did not get into the details.
Apparently it's like a very, very simple programming error oversight, as they always are.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
it's just like you put a 0 in the wrong spot, or decimal spots.
It's kind of like, Office Space.
It's exactly what I was going to compare it to.
Just the decimal point.
It's just like Office Space. You just round all those gold pieces down. But the truly interesting thing is, people found this exploit, exploited it, and then sold it on the Real Money Auction House, because there's a Real Money Auction House in Diablo.
Right.
So people were getting actual money out of Blizzard for this exploit. Well, actual money from other players.
From other players, yeah.
And Blizzard's cut and everything. By exploiting. So Blizzard found out about it in 2 or 3 days. They shut off the Real Money Auction House. They refunded everybody's purchases. They banned everyone's account who had duped some gold. But man, what do you do if you're in that situation? Do you refund all the US dollars that have traded hands? I guess you would have to.
I think if you're Blizzard and you're like as big and customer focused as Blizzard, let's say they lost, I don't know.
$1 million.
$1 million. All right. Let's say they lost $1 million in this fiasco. Honestly, I would just refund that $1 million to all the players who had been...
Let them keep their gold if they...
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the thing, is that if they bought the gold for real money, I guess the problem isn't that those players got cheated out of their real money, it's just now the gold economy is so inflated that gold is worth a lot less.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And they need to pull a lot of that gold out of the economy, and they got to figure out how to do it.
So that
nightmare, right?
So that could be the answer, is you like offer those players a trade or something, like we'll refund if you bought $100 worth of gold for 10 million gold or whatever, we'll deduct the 10 million gold from your account and refund you the $100 and just like make it a zero something and try and like get it back. Oh, it's almost like a rollback.
But it's hard to tell if the players making the purchases were exploiting as well.
Oh, yeah.
Like you read about that online. It's like, this is my opportunity.
Maybe.
I don't know how far, how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Yeah, I mean, they have definitely traversed some new territory with this whole real money auction house
I know,
thing.
right? So
these type of things come up. Yeah.
We went to the design talk, designing Diablo 3 when we were at GDC, and the designer who was speaking, was it Corey Stockton?
No, it was Jay Wilson.
Jay Wilson.
Yeah.
Who was speaking, was talking about the real money auction house, and he didn't say that he regretted doing it, but he did sort of acknowledge that it was the wrong solution to an actual problem. Like, he didn't backpedal on the problems that he was attempting to solve.
No, and there were problems.
It's like,
like Diablo 2.
People want to be able to trade weapons and gear. People want to be able to...
you don't want to have your economy
controlled
degrade,
by a black market, secondary
into
market.
A black market or Stones of Jordan and stuff. Like, that gets real... That's not how those games are supposed to go.
Yep.
So there was a problem from Diablo 2, and this was a very ambitious solution to that problem. I'm glad they did it. I'm glad they took that risk. I mean, Diablo 3 was still a good game, still provided a ton of fun to millions of people, and that's awesome. And along the way, Blizzard pioneered a new system that I'm sure will be tried again in future games, either by Blizzard or other companies. I mean, imagine just fast forward 10 years from now. I am sure there will be many, many games that utilize some sort of you can grind in this game and try and sell stuff and get some real money out of your gameplay. Like,
it's
10 years from now, I mean, come on, that's going to be like probably common practice.
It's one thing to allow people to put money into the system and buy things from other players. It's another thing to allow people to take money out of the system.
Yeah, and I mean, like, every game now, you think back 10 years to like the first, the original Xbox and PS2, like microtransactions, what the hell is that?
Even DLC to an extent.
DLC didn't even really get invented in the traditional sense until like Horse Armor from Oblivion, right? So like, 10 years ago, the idea of what you just said, purchasing items for real money, was kind of not even a thing that people really knew about. Now, it's in pretty much every single game.
Yeah.
Your console games, your social games, your iPad games, it's everywhere. 10 years from now, we're just now seeing this first pioneering of getting money out of the game. 10 years from now, I imagine that'll be a pretty common thing that we'll see. And I think we should remember all the risks that Blizzard took trying to do this, and some of the sacrifices that they're making with their probably community and a lot of the flack that they get in the PR space for taking those risks.
Because they're trailblazing.
But yeah, I'm glad they did, and I think it's cool for Blizzard, because a lot of times they do iterate and do a lot of kind of similar sequels and things like that. But this is really an area where they did break new ground. Yeah. And
so I've heard that
it's been a fascinating run.
Some companies, like the guys behind EVE Online, actually have in-house economists.
Oh yeah.
Like people whose entire job is not to study the trends of the dollar versus the euro or the securities markets or bonds and stocks, but to study, the stacks of silk cloth and the, gold pieces and silver pieces of virtual economies.
No, I mean, EVE is famous for that.
And do they have? Can you get money out of Eve?
No, you cannot.
You can get game time out of Eve. Like
Yes.
you can play Eve for free
Yeah.
and fund all your in-game transactions and purchases.
Which I think is cool. I think that's
But you can never actually get money out of it.
Now, I mean, obviously you have Steam and Steam Wallet.
Yep.
It started up a couple months ago, and I tried that. So I haven't played TF2 in a while, but I was a big
Team
TF2.
Fortress.
Yeah, I was a big TF2 player a couple years ago, and I'd gotten a couple hats and a couple weapons and stuff. So when that thing started, I tried it. I'm like, oh, I'll try and sell I think it was a Man Company box, one of the tool, the chest things. I'm like, I'll sell it. The average price was like 2 cents or something like that. So I posted it.
So you undercut one penny.
Yeah. Or it was like 4 cents or something. And like literally 2 months later, I got an email that said your whatever Man Company box has been sold for 3 cents.
Wow, that's
And
good.
I
You got more
3
than you
cents.
asked for.
So I got 3 cents in my Steam wallet right now. Now I don't know if I can convert that out to real money.
Probably not, but you can use it to buy Steam games.
I can totally use it to buy Steam games, even like
DLC.
Yeah, I bought something off Steam a couple days ago, and it asks in the checkout, like, use your 3 cents.
Do you want to apply your 3 cent credit?
Yeah, exactly. And
obviously, yes.
So I mean, like, in Steam, obviously, Valve is a big pioneer of these things too. So you see Valve getting into it, and let's assume that they had a PayPal conversion thing to get that money out. There's a whole other system for it. So
back to Diablo for a second. Do you think that they tuned the drop rates? When we started the podcast, you were talking about how horribly tuned. You played for 100 hours, got 1 legendary.
Yeah.
Do you think that they did that because they knew they had this auction house and they didn't want to flood the real money world with items? Because 100 hours for you is nothing compared to the billion hours that have been logged in Diablo. So
I have no idea.
do you think that they balanced the game to be fun and then added an auction house, or do you think that they took a long, hard look at their balance numbers after they added the auction house and were like, ooh, we gotta reduce the number of legendaries in this marketplace?
I really don't know.
Yeah, I don't either.
I really don't know.
I certainly couldn't fault them for doing it, but it does change the experience if you want to not. It's almost like there's 2 game modes. Like, when you play XCOM, you could do the game mode where you can't reload a save. It's like in Diablo, you could do the game mode where you don't use the auction house.
Well, yeah, and I did that. I did it both ways. The first character I built, I bought everything off the auction house, so I always had the highest level stuff than what was dropping. When we did our LAN party, when we played through the whole game in one sitting, I never used the auction house.
Yep.
We all just used.
I thought it was a little more fun.
I feel so too, because I was playing a barbarian,
you're a little weaker, but
and you got a drop on your side for barbarian. We traded it up, and that was cool, and it felt more like Diablo 2.
Yeah.
So I think it does allow players to choose how they want to play a little bit, and how they kind of want to have those difficulty settings for themselves. But it's awfully tempting to just go there and for like 2,000 gold buy like a better item than what you've been trying to grind for 4 or 5 hours.
Interesting. Well, yeah, quite a fiasco that those guys had this weekend, but hopefully it moves the medium forward, and we'll look back on years to come.
That's right. Cool.
All right.
That's GameWalks. See ya.